All right, everybody. Steve Metrics here with your boy, DJ TRIGGS.
TRIGGS. Let's go.
Here we go. Together, we are Moday Night Sports. We're here for you on a Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central, every Monday and Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central, here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or X, or whatever it is called. We're here together. We got no technical difficulties today. We are rocking and rolling. And how about those Monday night games last night, Triggs?
Wild stuff. Injuries and just not too happy if you're a fantasy owner.
Exactly. Definitely bad news for Nick Chubb owners. But that is going back to what we've talked about even before the season started on solidifying your handcuffs, especially for these huge top tier player positions like the Nick Chubbs of the world, that bam, you have to be ready with Jerome Ford. And it even brings better value to a guy like Nick Chubb, because if you draft him in round one, really no one else is thinking about a Jerome Ford late in your draft. So if you're in maybe a 12-team draft, you can easily get him at the end. Or if you're in maybe a bigger draft, then you're getting him in rounds maybe 12, 13, 11, something like that. So you really have that nice space in between to really solidify you having the handcuff. But if you don't have the handcuff, if you failed and dropped the ball on that and you rolled the dice and you see your big cowbell back go down, now you're paying the price. Now you're experiencing it firsthand, and it's something that no fantasy owner wants, more or less any person wants to see. And seeing Nick Chubb go down, plus he actually had this kind of similar injury 5 years ago as well. So just a real bummer. Everything you hear about Nick Chubb, he's a really great guy. Just really sucks to see him go down. So that was a real bummer last night.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. I heard a incredible stat about him, or maybe I read it. He is the only running back in the last 5 years to have, and this is in history, in 5 years to have 5 yards a carry. Like, that's insane.
Whoa.
And
Yeah.
They went through Hall of Famers and everything, and I was just like, that's nuts. Like, you're losing an incredible player.
Yeah, incredible player. Cleveland does have an incredible O-line as well. So you just knew that there was going to be more production out of that guy this year. And going at your point too, where like you're saying like he averages 5 yards a carry. I just got finished up earlier this afternoon breaking down the Seahawks Lions game, and I wanted to take a further look into Kenneth Walker. And we'll be posting about this in our videos we're rolling out this week about every game. But Kenneth Walker actually has one of the better run blockings in the NFL. And PFF actually ranks Seattle as the 8th best run blocking right now in the NFL. But yet only with that, Kenneth Walker is only averaging about 3 yards a carry. So it shows that even having good offensive line, you still have to carry that weight on your shoulders. And if that is the case, you should be doing like what you pointed out with Nick Chubb. You should be averaging closer to 5 yards a carry and not 3 yards a carry. So that just tells you how far ahead Nick Chubb is above players that are like Kenneth Walker.
And it's insane. Talking about handcuffs. I mean, Nick Chubb averaged 6.4 yards a carry during the Monday night game. And Jerome Ford, who everyone's probably going to go to the waiver wires and start scooping up, he averaged 6.6 yards a carry. So Cleveland's offensive line is doing numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, it is definitely one of those awesome run blocking O-lines out there that I like right now. Between them, Detroit, Philadelphia. If you know who the running back is, unlike Philadelphia, you're probably going to feel really good having those running backs. So just a real bummer to see Chubb go down. But again, if you are that owner that had drafted Chubb, you had to have been thinking at the end of your draft to get Jerome Ford. There's just really no excuse, unless you're in like an 8-team league, to not know that you have to get his backup should a really bad injury occur. Plus, I mean, not to get into the ageism of it, but he is 30. You never know what could happen at some point. Granted, he really never showed any signs of letting up. And his injury that occurred, there is nothing, no age, no change of scenario that could have happened to avoid that injury. It's a really bad injury. It is out there on the internet, but it sucks. But yeah, that's about it. So yeah, real bummer for Chubb. I like the guy a lot, but it is what it is, and you gotta move on.
Just a heads up to our viewers. Just because you have a really nice run blocking crew doesn't mean they're good at pass blocking.
That's true. And it's so weird that you bring that up, because like, I really find that to be odd. It's so weird that like an offensive line can be great at run blocking and fail at pass protection. We sometimes see the inverse of that as well. But it is really weird to see an offensive line that's really not good at both. Because normally when we're talking good about an offensive line, you think the other side of that coin is good too, but it is not the case, and you really got to pay attention to that. So it's a great point you bring up.
Yeah, I mean, Watson himself got sacked out, I don't know off the top of my head, like 5, 6, 7 times.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah, he did not look comfortable back there. He did not have that great of protection. I mean, there were plays where he did have solid protection, and Amari Cooper was just kind of running all over the place downfield. I would have liked to seen a little more of Elijah Moore in this offense, especially with Chubb going down. But yeah, definitely when a pocket collapses, Deshaun Watson really can't get out of it. So yeah, I mean, at times it looks good, but if you give up 5 sacks in a game, that's not a good offensive line showing.
So the moral of the story, people, go get Jerome Ford. And if you have to, Pierre Strong Jr. may be his handcuff. I don't think they're going to split too many carries, but it is what it is, you know?
There's another name out there, and I will keep that until we talk about it later. Oh, yeah. There is a certain player out there that's just kind of like a vulture just flying around the dead meat that's on the ground. So it's not Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is not that dead meat. Too soon. I know. But yeah, we'll get to that later. Got some other waiver wire pickups.
Wait a minute. So
yeah,
I have a problem. Before we jump out of this Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, what is wrong with Najee Harris?
So the way I can tell you, I mean, obviously I'm heavily invested in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
Yeah.
Both from a fantasy standpoint, both from the belief that I think this team will actually go really, really far into the season, and the fact that I'm like all in on Kenny Pickett. I think this is one of the best teams. I think it's shocking that in our league, they actually rank as the second best defense in the entire NFL for fantasy, and they're actually not even on a team, and we have 16 teams. That's mind-blowing. But the thing that I can tell you, and I've seen this from 2 years ago to now, Najee Harris is actually the pass-catching back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Jaylen Warren is the heavy-hitting bruiser, Nick Chubb style back that they have. So they're going to use Warren for more heavy-hitting plays, and they're going to use Najee for more like shifty or just kind of like open the playbook kind of plays. He can run hard, but if they want to really have him out there on a pass catching down, they're going to put Najee Harris out there and not Jaylen Warren. So that's the way that offense works.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but like this guy is supposed to be a bell cow, and a lot of people drafted him early, and I may or may not have been one of those in some leagues.
Oh, no.
Usually because he fell to me, but like the guy he's barely getting 4 yards a carry, but he's only getting like 10 to 15 touches a game. So it kind of just kills everything.
Yeah, it does. But I would think of that as like, okay, if you're drafting him, I think the real position is just like you said, if he falls to you, he should really be being drafted after Jahmyr Gibbs. That's pretty much about it. Is when Gibbs goes, that's about the time that you select Najee Harris. But then Warren is like one of those middle of a draft backs that you have to have. So his priority as a handcuff is way more ahead of guys like the Jerome Fords of the world that we're talking about, or the Elijah Mitchells of the world that we're talking about. So like Najee and Warren is it's almost like an AJ Dillon to an Aaron Jones kind
Oh
of
no,
situation,
no, no, no.
except they're a little
Nope.
more spread out. They
You
are,
take that,
absolutely.
You take it back. As a Packer fan, we do not like AJ Dillon right now.
Well, what I'm saying is it's a combination of pass catching and power. That's how they built that. They built it with pass catching and power, and that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers did. And if you really caught their like second or their third preseason game, that actually became evident. They brought that up, and it was clear as day. I mean, Jaylen Warren, I think, had like a 60 or a 70-yard rush at the end of that game. In their final preseason game. So it was clear that Warren was going to be that more heavy hitting running back, and Najee is not as big of a bruiser as Warren is.
Warren was the second leading receiver for the Steelers this past week. So like if he's out there and you can get a shot at him, maybe put him on the end of your bench and see what happens.
Yeah, he's definitely that kind of guy you got. And unfortunately for me, I mean, I'm a Raider fan, and I can tell you, we play the Steelers this week. I think that offense absolutely is going to take off. And if you want to get some heavy hitting points, I mean, just look at what Latavius Murray did last week for the Bills. So that heavy hitting back out of Jaylen Warren is going to show up again this week. So absolutely, Jaylen Warren's a really good start and a really good pickup if you can get him in your leagues.
Yeah. Do we want to move to the Saints game?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a lower scoring affair. And I know this is one of your favorite teams to talk about in the NFL, Triggs. So tell us more about the Carolina Panthers.
I knew you were going to do this to me, but oh man, like us random people that had Miles Sanders fall to us, just that's a blow to the nether region. But then it's crazy because Chuba Hubbard comes out, he gets like 5 targets in the passing game. Adam Thielen comes out of like, I don't know where he was, somewhere in like a retirement home maybe. He gets like 10 targets, only gets 50 some yards. It's like, dude, what is going on in Carolina? None of this makes any sense. They throw the ball 30 to 40 times. I don't know. I just hate this whole team.
Yeah, so like I would totally take any kind of stat you think that's great about Adam Thielen and throw it in the trash, because the only reason why that touchdown was scored, the only reason why there were many receptions, the only reason why he was actually able to accumulate yardage is because this was Carolina's final drive of the game. And New Orleans was playing a prevent defense, which everyone that actually watches football knows that it's the worst kind of defense, and nobody should be playing a prevent defense against Bryce Young. He stinks. He is a bad NFL quarterback. And as I was trying to tell you before your technology played as badly as Bryce Young was playing last night, I totally say that Bryce Young and those Carolina Panthers will more than likely be the worst team in the NFL, and they will select Caleb Williams to replace Bryce Young because Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. He's not ready. He doesn't look ready. He looks like a high school kid. He's not an NFL quarterback. Some of these guys are looking way too young when they come into the NFL, and they don't mature quick. They're just not mature. They're not ready. They're not built. Josh Rosen, like, that's what you are seeing now. You are seeing way more Josh Rosens in the league than we should be seeing, between Zach Wilson, Bryce Young. Some of these guys, they're just not cutting it. I know people want to throw Daniel Jones under the bus and into that, but Daniel Jones plays in New York, and he plays pretty well. And he's actually a very mobile quarterback. So anyone who went up against Daniel Jones this week or had him saw that guy put up almost 30 fantasy points. So that's where you see that maturity that actually matters and resonates when you see a guy who, I went to a big SEC school. Like, I'm the best player in my conference and in college. And then you come into the NFL, and it is not Alabama football you're playing with. And that was clear as day yesterday. So I know people want to talk about that yardage from Adam Thielen, but really none of that should have existed. That should
None.
have all been basically 0 points.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way. So Chuba Hubbard had 5 targets. Miles Sanders had 5 targets. Adam Thielen had 9 targets. Like, that is clearly horrible. Bryce Young probably had under 100 yards until like that final drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a single
no
touchdown
touchdowns.
either. It was a bunch of Eddie Pinheiro
bad.
kicking from the midfield.
Yeah, just bad. Like, they're hard to watch.
They are easily hard to watch, and I don't think Atlanta is that much of a world beater on defense. I think they have gone against fairly not too impressive offenses to start the season, and yeah, I mean, I like the Green Bay Packers, but to fall apart like that in that second half is not a good look. So I wonder what we're going to see out of Atlanta in Week 3. When I think Atlanta, I think they're going up against New Orleans. So I think this is going to be one of their first like real possible legit offenses that is somewhat stabilized that they're going to play against, and we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, it's just a really bad look out of Carolina to be playing like this. So I don't know. It's I just think that's going to be easily one of the worst teams in the NFL, and it's going to show up that way throughout the season. There's just nothing on offense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But on the other side of the ball,
the way things worked out for Atlanta, no,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Atlanta just kind of, and not because I'm a Packer fan or anything like that, but you could tell the Packers were missing Aaron Jones to close that game out like he did against Chicago the week before. And Dylan kind of lost a little bit of like favor with the fans and probably with his own coaching staff, because he could not get through like big holes. Like the difference in the NFL and college and high school is the gap between blockers closes so much faster in the NFL than it does in college or high school or anything like that. And when a big guy like that doesn't have that initial burst to get through that hole, that's where guys get only, 3 yards a carry instead of 4.5, 5. It's horrible. So when Atlanta kind of started to shut them down in the second half, that was all on the run game, just not doing its job.
Yeah, exactly. You really got to do your thing when you're given those opportunities. I think the majority of people think that Green Bay actually has a solid offensive line. David Bakhtiari is probably going to go down at some point via injury, which he did. But that said, it still feels like Green Bay should be able to solidify the run and be able to get those opportunities that they can muster up. So just kind of interesting seeing what they have going on there. So yeah, looks like we got Lars chiming in here about the Lions.
The Lions?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just see Lions.
We can always talk about Lions.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we can kind of go a little off script on that. And I guess the big thing that I noticed, again, from that Seattle game is that Montgomery had a nice showing, good offensive line there too. But the interesting part about this game is that the number one player in terms of targets is actually Jahmyr Gibbs. He actually led the whole team in targets with 7. So I don't know if he's going to be ready to go, but oh, yes, there you go, Lars. Yes, Atlanta plays Detroit. That's a real game. That is a real game right there. That is a real test for Atlanta, and that is a tough offense to play against in Detroit. They've played very well in the first 2 weeks of the season, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I guess we can start making some picks. Just one quick thing out of the New Orleans Saints game. Actually, 2 things you have to notice. One, if you have a wide receiver going against the Saints, that number 1 receiver is going up against Marshawn Lattimore and is doing nothing. So always be aware of that. Yeah. So like whoever New Orleans plays, like you have to figure it out. They're going to have Lattimore shadow whoever, and you're going to do nothing. Actually, I think Lattimore has only given up 30 yards in 2 weeks, and that's it. He had, I think, 1 target week 1 and 2 targets this week, and like nothing out of it whatsoever. So
you're telling
definitely
me
be heads
Adam
up.
Thielen didn't make it happen?
Adam Thielen didn't. Actually, Adam Thielen did make it happen, but even that, like, yeah, it's the slot. So again, you got a slot guy doing some stuff, and Lattimore's like, I don't care about this. Like, that's it's just not good enough. So I think you had Lattimore on Jonathan Mingo. There was a nice Jonathan Mingo catch in this game, but I guarantee that's who Lattimore was up against, was Jonathan Mingo and not Adam Thielen, because I think defenses actually respect Mingo more than Thielen already at this point.
Yeah.
So there you go. One last thing with the Saints. The running back, I'm forgetting the guy's name, but the guy that scored 2 touchdowns, that guy could be a sneaky pickup if you need a running back, if you have to stream someone, if you're playing a daily, because this will be the last week that he actually fills in for the Alvin Kamara spot. So how you got your power and then your pass catching. Your power is Jamal Williams, and your pass catching is that guy. But when Alvin Kamara is done with his suspension, he's back. So be heads up on that. There you go.
Jamal Williams got injured in that game. So Tony Jones Jr. might be the sneaky pickup of the week.
Interesting. Yeah. So actually, there might be a little more life out of Tony Jones Jr. Beyond this. So pretty interesting. Good stuff there, Triggs. I like it.
Yeah. That's what we do here at no debate sports. We kind of know this fantasy stuff sometimes.
Exactly.
But
Yep.
Jamal Williams has been kind of worthless so far. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little tough when you got a guy out there that you expect. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough out there sometimes, for sure. So I think we got all our games. We got our games in the books. And with that, we've had 2 weeks in the books worth of our picks, Triggs, where we're always making our picks on Tuesdays. So how about you tally up those games and how are we looking so far?
Oh, you don't want to know this, but somebody's up by 2 on this side. 22
by 2.
Yeah, 22-10, and you are 20-12.
20-12. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
This past week was not so good for you.
True. I completely agree. There were definite mishaps this week, and we'll definitely try to ride that ship. And I do blame certain higher powers for I don't know, shenanigans in the Washington Broncos game. So I'm going to forever remain bitter about that game, because that game absolutely should have been in an over. That could have been the best game of the week. And the officials were like, nope, we're going to swallow our whistles. 60 minutes, Yellowstone. Here we go. That's what was going on.
We got a quick fantasy question.
Yeah.
From the Rams.
Okay.
I think he's a lock. I'm starting him in just about every league that I have him.
Okay. So that'd be Puka Nacua, right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
You are correct.
So he is this week. The Rams. I thought I caught that matchup somewhere. Who are the Rams up against?
Let's check. Are my eyes deceiving me? They are playing Monday against the Bengals.
Okay, so Monday night against the Bengals. So what we know is the Ravens just played against the Bengals, and pretty much their number is Puka Nacua. He's playing outside, right? He's not a slot receiver or anything. Is he outside?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, all right, I gotcha. So he is a outside receiver and just played against the Ravens. So let me check that out here right now and see what we got. So yeah, I mean, pretty much Puka Nacua is against Baltimore, and then week 1 the Rams played against Seattle, and that also went very well for him and the Rams. So now you put him this week against who is that team against? Cincinnati, right? Yes, it is Cincinnati. So like
Yep.
Cincinnati, then So Cincinnati week 2 just went up against Baltimore, and pretty much their main player that they dealt with was Nelson Aguilar. Like Odell Beckham got a little banged up. So actually, maybe you can say Odell Beckham was probably the number one in this game. So at least in terms of the defense, I mean, Zay Flowers is a phenomenal receiver, but he's the slot guy from Baltimore. So if we look at Odell Beckham, his production this week was 4 targets, 3 receptions, 29 yards. That's it. Not a single touchdown, and that's it. So he's the number one receiver, and that's his production. So let's go to week 1 and see what that production was out of who they played against. And they played against Cleveland week 1. So the guy we're looking at here is definitely Amari Cooper. So let's see how Amari Cooper's week 1 production was. And if I recall, I think it was pretty good. And it was...
As you're doing that...
Actually, yeah.
So I just went to our Db8 Sports website and checked the fantasy depth tracker. Tutu Atwell is the slot receiver. So yeah.
Gotcha.
We do have
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's something interesting. Amari Cooper was the number 1 receiver for Cleveland week 1 against the Bengals. That week, he had 5 targets, 3 receptions, 37 yards, and that's it. There is nothing beyond that. So he actually kind of got dealt with that week as well. So I know people are actually thinking this might be a lock. I actually might want to avoid this now that we talk about it. I think that he's the guy that's going to get the attention. I think the name you just brought up, Tutu Atwell, I think he's the guy that actually has success against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Because even that week, that was Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore just had a little bit more production than Amari Cooper did that week. And we know, too, that Zay Flowers did pretty well against the Bengals last week as well for about 60 yards. So it seems like they're susceptible over the middle, especially with the slot receiver. So I would say if you're really trying to take a stream or take a flyer on the Rams game against Cincinnati, I would do it more in the slot and less outside. It doesn't really look like the number 2 receiver does that much either. So I think one of the more better points of Cincinnati is that they probably actually have 2 really good corners outside. And normally the teams put their 3rd best corner usually in the nickel. So I don't think their nickel corner is as good, and that's how you want to attack Cincinnati.
That's legit.
Exactly.
So it looks like he says Equinemius St. Brown. Wait, nope. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown, his brother. Equinemius played for the Packers, so his name is in my head.
Actually, real quick, I see James is pointing out that Cooper did really well last night. I'm talking about 2 weeks ago. I'm talking about Amari Cooper against Cincinnati, not Amari Cooper against Baltimore, because we're looking at how receivers are matching up against the corners of Cincinnati. So that's the big thing is the number 1 receivers against Cincinnati this week and last week have not done well. And Puka Nacua at this point is going to be the number 1 receiver outside. So I feel based off that data, he's going to get locked down, and he's probably going to get you maybe 6 to 50 yards receiving and probably no touchdowns. That's what I think is coming.
Oh.
Yes.
10-4.
Yeah. But yeah, I see we got also a question of Lars about St. Brown.
Yeah, I'm actually looking that up right now to see what happened to him. I don't think I picked up on that.
Yeah, I know going into fantasy drafts, especially at the end of the preseason, Amon-Ra was actually kind of banged up. So that's kind of where I actually had a little bit of caution from him to begin with. I actually made a video about like the best handcuffs out there. And I actually recommended Jamison Williams because the fact that they're both a little banged up. And if they're both on the field, they're both going to kind of take away production away from each other. But it just kind of shows you the volatility of how explosive that Lions offense really is. So, yeah, go ahead, Triggs.
So he had 6 catches for 100+ yards. He left the game due to cramping. So I don't think it's too serious. It's just cramps.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not too bad. But I guess the other guy, I mean, I know Khalif Raymond has production, but I would probably, if you're looking as you're an Amon-Ra St. Brown owner and maybe you're not as deep at wide receiver and you need some other option to kind of make sure that you get everything you want out of that Lions offense, probably get Josh Reynolds for now. Until Jamison Williams comes back, because when he's on the field, that guy is totally electric. That guy is Tyreek Hill straight up. He is totally Tyreek Hill, and we will see that. But Josh Reynolds has familiarity with Jared Goff. He's Jared Goff's probably most trusted receiver throughout his career. They both played together with the Rams, and when Goff came to the Lions, so did Josh Reynolds. Don't know if that was a trade package or something, but they both came over together, so Jared Goff already feels comfortable with that guy. So good production you saw out of Josh, and that's probably a good handcuff to get for the moment if you're an Amon-Ra St. Brown owner and you feel that the matchup is so beneficial in the passing game.
Boom. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you want to get into some picks?
Oh, yes. Let's do it. Let's get some picks. We got to make a graphic for this in the next coming weeks for sure. We got to get some picks action.
I am working on it. We are
awesome.
We are
awesome.
Ramped up.
Good stuff. Yeah, that is good stuff. I love it. So what you got?
So Thursday, we have the Giants at San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is where everyone falls back to earth, unless you are maybe the Philadelphia Eagles and you can go toe-to-toe with San Francisco. Yeah, I'm totally picking the Niners.
Boom. Same. We are in it to win it right there. I mean, San Francisco's basically just murdering everyone, so it's kind of out of hand. I mean, Seattle did keep up, but like not so much.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, like the Rams played San Francisco pretty well, and actually, like over the last handful of seasons. Oh yeah, the Rams. But yeah, the last handful of seasons, the Rams are actually playing them pretty tight, and actually, right now, the Rams are looking like if they can keep these guys, if they can keep Stafford healthy, that could be a playoff team. They are sneaky good. It's always going to come down to this rock, paper, scissors between the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks and how that interaction shakes out. So, yeah, there's some sneaky stuff going on with the Rams. We know they're about to deal with Cam Akers because he has no respect for Sean McVay whatsoever, so he's out of there. And Kyron Williams is doing a great job at carrying that workload. He is that bell cow back. He is that Todd Gurley-esque prototype that the Rams now have. So good stuff going on there with them. But yeah, it's the Niners are a really great team. And yeah, it's interesting. I know people talk about the AFC, but I almost feel like the 3 best teams in the entire NFL are all in the NFC at the moment in Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Dallas. I've said this earlier too, like this is the year that the NFC brings the AFC down a little bit and actually brings them back to earth and restores that balance. And I think we're definitely going to see that this season.
Sweet. All right.
So let's
go to the early games.
One game.
The 12 o'clock on Sunday. We got Denver at Miami.
Ooh,
who you got?
Denver at Miami. Yeah, so I'm going to go with some insider info and know that Vic Fangio still pretty much knows that that defense inside and out. And if that game were in Denver, I might change it up a little bit. But I think Vic Fangio and that defense is really going to clean up against Denver at home. So, yeah, I will definitely take the Miami Dolphins in that one.
We're same page in it. All right, I think this is where we'll get a little off kilter, I'm going to say.
I got to make up that 2-game lead somewhere.
That's true. Let's go with New England at the New York Jets.
Okay, New England at the New York Jets. Yeah, so we have the Jets just play a really, really tough one against the Dallas Cowboys, but I think of this as almost a repeat of last week. We saw how the Jets just basically put Garrett Wilson out there to be a human sacrifice in a blowout. I don't like that whatsoever. I feel this game is a repeat, so I'm taking the Patriots.
Oh, no. So we did differ. So I actually think Mac Jones, well, it's going to sound crazy because I don't know what's going on with Mac Jones, but he seems like he's the greatest quarterback to ever live for some reason, down for 1 week. And the Jets come out of this probably in a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I just don't think Mac Jones is really all that far off from the quality of Dak Prescott. So I envision the Patriots running a similar game plan to what the Cowboys operated with this week. And yeah, I mean, if you were a Garrett Wilson owner and you were already concerned about the Jets and how he's going to play going on without Aaron Rodgers, I think this is absolutely a disaster, because if they just shut down Tyreek Hill and even parts of Jalen Waddle, I know Waddle got hurt, they're going to shut down Garrett Wilson. So yeah, I don't like that matchup this week. I feel like if it were a lesser team that didn't have as good of a defense as New England, I'd probably be with you on it. I mean, there's some nice throws I like out of Zach Wilson, but not yet.
Understandable.
Yep.
Houston at Jacksonville.
Okay. Houston at Jacksonville. So, yeah, linemen just keep going down left and right for Houston. Yet CJ Stroud is actually playing pretty nice. So there's some really good things we're getting out of this. But I still think this past week, I think Jacksonville should have blown Kansas City out of the water. They had 4 touchdowns that guys were just standing out of bounds instead of getting 2 feet in. So that's 28 points that the Jaguars didn't have. But I think they're absolutely going to make up for those mistakes this week. And I think they absolutely just take the top off of Houston and actually hammer that team this week. So, yeah, I mean, already looking at the spread of that game, it's like minus 500 for Jacksonville. The spread of this game is almost 10 points. Gosh, I'm shocked it's not even closer to 20. So, yeah, that's how heavy I'd be picking Jacksonville this week.
We're on the same page.
There we go.
I mean, Houston's pretty bad. Nico Collins is the only guy that's worth anything in that whole. Well, no, Tank Dell is pretty nice too.
Yeah, he's coming.
But yeah, everybody else can just go away.
Yeah. Plus Tank, I think, is also part of special teams. He does kicks,
Cleveland.
So I like it. Yeah. So you're saying Tennessee and Cleveland?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So this one, I'm going to go with the dog pound. I'm going to stay in home despite losing Nick Chubb. They didn't really miss a beat in that run game. We'll see if they use Elijah Moore more. And we'll see if a certain back also shows up on this team. So yeah, I think this will absolutely still stay with Cleveland. I know they have their nickel corner get banged up, and I know I'm blanking on Jim Schwartz. Yeah, Jim Schwartz said that corner is essentially, I think it's Bradbury, that he's like the best nickel corner that he's ever coached in his career. And Schwartz has had some really great defenses over his tenure in the NFL. So that's impressive. So with that, I mean, honestly, outside those 2 defensive touchdowns, Cleveland had more points against Pittsburgh. So I like Cleveland as a real complete team. And even though I don't have them winning the AFC North, I still stay true with them. And I think this will be a playoff team. So I like Cleveland against a feisty Tennessee team that somehow is fighting tooth and nail against every game they play.
Yeah, I have no confidence in Tennessee at all. That offense is meh at best.
But they still beat the Chargers. How do the Chargers score like 60 points in 2 weeks and they're 0-2?
No idea. Yeah. No idea.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the Chargers in a sec. So I'm going with Cleveland too.
All right.
The next game, and I'll start out on this one. Atlanta at Detroit. I am going Atlanta because of the way they stopped AJ Dillon. I don't think Detroit has enough juice. I saw some words about Montgomery being banged up a little bit. So I actually think Atlanta, if they put their defensive backs on Amon-Ra St. Brown and do their thing, maybe the inside will be a little bit open, but with Laporta and those guys down the middle. But I'm going with Atlanta just because they can stop that run game.
Okay. If that's the case, then I will go all in on Detroit on this for that fact, based off of last week, how Jaden Reed actually torched them in the middle of the field in the slot. So I will definitely think Amon-Ra St. Brown just takes off, has a game. For those people that take the advice of Josh Reynolds or Khalif Raymond, maybe hold back on that because really I think this is a big Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe it's an even bigger Jahmyr Gibbs kind of day. And Green Bay didn't have an Aaron Jones out there against the Atlanta Falcons. Detroit does have their version of an Aaron Jones in Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think that takes off. That brings a different dimension. But there are concerns that I have against this Atlanta defense. Like, we're going to really understand how that secondary is for Atlanta this week. They had no matchup whatsoever against Carolina. That is a sham of an NFL team at this point. And then playing against a somewhat banged up, somewhat questionable offense in the Green Bay Packers. Now they play against a fully loaded Detroit that is basically just missing their bell cow running back. So we'll see how that Detroit passing game is this week against Atlanta. But I think Detroit's defense is going to step up a little bit more. I don't think this is as scary of an offense. I know I'm putting Geno Smith in there, but I do think Geno Smith is definitely better than Desmond Ridder. So, I don't know. I think this game is definitely close, like you're pointing at. But I still think if Detroit takes those things that Green Bay did really well at last week and then adds that Jahmyr Gibbs dimension, I think that's what puts them over the top.
Sweet.
So we're different.
Speaking of New Orleans at Green Bay, who you got?
Woo! Wow.
We are. That's 2 games.
That is a wild one. That's a game that I've been hearing about that in my mind I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And for that reason, I'm actually going to go with Green Bay because I feel to this point that New Orleans has not been tested and they've played not that great. Like, if they were truly a great team offensively, wouldn't we be putting them up there with like the San Francisco 49ers, or wouldn't we be thinking of them as the Philadelphia Eagles? Because they've scraped by Tennessee. Tennessee is not that good of a team, like we pointed out. And then against a Bryce Young Carolina Panthers team, you really only scored 20 points, and 2 of that came from the running back. So I'm really not impressed with New Orleans, even though, like, I love Raheed Shaheed. I love that guy, but I think he has a day, but I just don't think that it's enough. And I think we're really going to see a true New Orleans team tested this week against Green Bay. So for those reasons, even though there's no Aaron Jones, yeah, I think you're playing against a real NFL team this weekend. I'm taking the Packers.
So I'm taking the Packers, shocker. But the reason why Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams are both out, the Packers have a lot of problems stopping the run. But if it's like the third or fourth running back, kind of doesn't matter anymore. Jair Alexander takes out one wide receiver completely off the field. They're pretty solid around the linebacker core. So the tight ends aren't really going to work them either that much with Juwan Johnson down the middle. So I have to take Green Bay.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, if you're on the receiving end of that, I think you're spot on that. If you're in fantasy, then you're probably thinking more of Mike Thomas. I think Jair is going to be probably more on Chris Olave because that's more the scarier guy out of that offense is Olave. So Mike Thomas can be dealt with. And then I think Raheed Shaheed is that middle of the field slot guy that's running around. But I also ask you this. Have slot receivers done that much against Green Bay? Because I don't think they have. Darnell, because Darnell Mooney had a good week one. He is their slot receiver in Chicago against Green Bay. And then this week you played against Atlanta. I don't know off the top of my hand, did Scotty Miller do like any damage to you guys at all? Because I know he replaced Olamide Zacchaeus, who left that team.
So the only wide receivers that caught passes were Drake London and Mac Hollins. A couple targets went to Jonnu Smith and a couple went to Kyle Pitts.
Right. So that's kind of your slot, your middle of the field. Gotcha. Yeah, I think Shaheed definitely takes over because that's more of a bigger time slot receiver. Kind of looking at the Chicago game, how Darnell Mooney is like, yeah, he's a legit slot receiver in the NFL. So he ranks up there highly as probably your number 2 overall receiver, and Shaheed is probably your number 2 overall receiver, right up there with Mike Thomas. So if Olave gets shut down, one of those other guys is probably going to do some damage, but I think it's a certain amount of damage, but like I've told you, Triggs, I've watched plenty of Raider games of Derek Carr over the years, and he finds ways to lose games. And against a good Green Bay defense, and especially a Jair Alexander who's going to be out there like looking at the eyes of the quarterback, I think this could be one of those games where Derek Carr just forgets how to play quarterback in the second half of the game.
Yeah, probably. The Green Bay defense is really good except stopping the run.
Gotcha. Cool. Perfect. So yeah, that falls right into their wheelhouse. Good stuff.
Buffalo at Washington.
Ooh, wow. That's a spicy one. That is a good-looking Washington Commander team. Yeah. All right. I'm going for it. I will take the spoiler. I will take Washington. I like the complete team here. I love the defense. And yeah, Buffalo had a get-right game against my Raiders. But like, we're not a complete team. We do not have things going good on offense. We definitely don't have things going on defense. And yeah, put a left tackle and put a tight end against Max Crosby, and he's done. Washington's just an all-around good defense, and they have a balanced attack between the air and the ground game with Robinson, and then they have really nice receivers there. Their tight end is a little banged up, but we'll see what happens. And you have a mobile quarterback, so you have many, many ways you can attack that defense. I like it. I still feel Buffalo is one of those sham teams out there that's like, hey, we're really good, but we're not, like Cincinnati. So yeah, I'm gonna go against the grain. I'm taking Washington.
Okay, so we're gonna differ on this one too, because I picked Buffalo. The reason why, Washington almost lost to the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos put up 33 points. Russell Wilson threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Josh Allen is way on another planet compared to Russell Wilson and those wide receivers that he has. We're talking about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis over here with Buffalo. I don't think Washington has enough firepower to keep up.
I think they do because Josh Allen is a turnover machine. just as much as Russell Wilson turning that ball over, so is Josh Allen. He can turn it over. He can fumble the ball. Latavius Murray's not going to hit you up the gut. I think it's definitely going to be more scratching and clawing. And I feel like for them to win, it's going to have to be a big Dawson Knox and a big Dalton Kincaid kind of game, because I feel there's going to be that tension. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs. And granted, like, this might be kind of a homecoming for a Stephon Diggs because he played college over in Maryland. So that could be big. That could go his way. I can see that. But I mean, at some point, you're going to see some kind of upset somewhere in some of these games. And I'm going to go with that. That's the one I'm sticking with. So either I'm going to be 3 games behind you from that pick, or I'm going to be getting you with only 1 behind. So we'll see.
No, you're definitely going to be behind, because let me put this number out there. I don't want to take up too much time on picks.
Yep.
But Russell Wilson had a QBR of 53, which means he was completely average and still threw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against Washington. So I don't know. Washington could be hit or miss.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I still think Denver is also one of those teams that's actually pretty good, despite their record. And they got jobbed. They totally got jobbed in that game. I mean, to throw a Hail Mary and then basically not have a shot at tying that game and going into overtime. That was a bummer. So, yeah. So we still we got some more games.
I'm going to take a shot at you. They also lost to the they also lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm just saying.
They did, but we are a familiar opponent. We do know how to play against that team. So it's a game. Actually, too, that's a game that Denver should have won. They should as well. So we'll see. New week, new life.
All right. The Chargers at the Vikings. Who do you got?
Oh my goodness. These are 2 teams that are 0-2 that have great offenses that absolutely should be better. They should have better records than 0-2, but they are both complete disappointments, both completely fallen flat. With Minnesota losing like they did to the Buccaneers, and if you're the Chargers, you're like, okay, cool. We play 18 road games every season. Let's go to Minnesota. Let's play another road game, but at least we're indoors. So yeah, I'm taking Chargers.
Yep, definitely going Chargers. Not San Francisco. Minnesota's pretty one-sided. It's Kirk Cousins throws the ball in the air to Justin Jefferson, hopes for the best. Alexander Mattison is kind of not that good.
Exactly. That is definitely the case that's going on there
Indianapolis,
with that team. Yeah, just one last thing for fantasy in this game. I would say if you're a Keenan Allen owner, or you're let's go with Mike Williams on this side. Maybe if you're a Mike Williams owner, you might want to lay off, because we've seen those number 1 wide receivers go up against that Brian Flores nickel zone defense, not do that great, especially with Devontae Smith last week really doing well. That might be a Quentin Johnson game. That might be a Quentin Johnson or a Keenan Allen, because Keenan plays the slot, so you can attack them in a different angle. But I would look at those 2 guys. If you're a Mike Williams owner, put him to the side. Those guys, those number 1 wideouts, do not do that well against Minnesota. So that's probably the one thing I would be on the lookout for that game.
All right, this game will be quick.
Yep.
Probably no Anthony Richardson. Indianapolis against Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore. I've actually been really impressed with watching Baltimore. I like their offensive line. I like the protection that Lamar Jackson's getting. I love the growth that we're seeing out of Zay Flowers. And that defense is solid too. So yeah, I like Baltimore.
Yep, same.
Perfect.
These next games should go pretty fast, because I know we're pushing it on the clock, and we haven't gotten to the greatest segment of all time. Carolina.
You gotta get to that segment.
Carolina's horrible, so I'm pretty sure you're not picking them.
Yeah, they're not an NFL team. So, yeah, Seattle for sure.
Chicago at Kansas City.
Wow. Boy, is that rough. And I'm a DJ Moore owner. Like, I'm literally going to take DJ Moore and keep him on my bench this week because I don't know what to expect. Justin Fields is regressing. With that, Spagnuolo is going to do that cover zero and just bring the house at Justin Fields, and he's going to make a mistake. So, yeah, like I would just take every fantasy player that's a Chicago Bear this week and bench them. Maybe Justin Fields, but we already saw Trevor Lawrence had some trouble against KC outside of those goal line touchdowns that he should have had. So, yeah, just take all the Bears and don't even play them this week.
There's no such thing as a Chicago Bears fantasy football player. Just saying. They should all be benched.
That's where we're at. Yep. What up, Brent? There we go.
Boom.
Cool.
The next one that's going to be really quick. Dallas at Arizona, because one of these teams don't have people.
That's true. I do like the offensive line of Arizona there. There is something sneaky about that. But again, like you put Dallas against teams that really have nothing going on offense and they will get destroyed. Dallas will do that again this week.
That's easy. This one will probably pull your heartstrings a little bit. The Sunday night football game, Pittsburgh at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh man, that's a Sunday night game. That hurts. I would like to see another game take that spot, but with the growth that I saw last week out of Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, and knowing how that Steeler fan base is going to travel, I'm taking Pittsburgh. I think they really start to get that momentum going this week. They could get some really good things going again on defense, and I think the Pickett to Pickens combo takes off this week, and some more Jaylen Warren.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I thought your head was gonna explode when you had to pick either Jimmy Garoppolo or Kenny Pickett.
I know. Yeah, but I've looked at the schedule in the past, and I've seen these games in the future, especially for fantasy. And now we're starting to get to that point where I think the tide starts to flow into Kenny Pickett's favor. So what better week than against the Raiders?
Absolutely. That's where I'm going. Let's see. Monday Night Football. This one I think can be a lot better and a lot sneakier than people are going to give it credit for. Philadelphia at Tampa Bay.
That could actually be sneaky interesting. I mean, you could make the case that Tampa Bay might actually be the best team in the South right now. They've actually played some fairly interesting opponents. So yeah, like this is going to be a sneaky one. This game is at Tampa Bay, Triggs.
Yep, at Tampa Bay.
All right. Despite me saying all of that, you can't really run the ball well against Philadelphia, and that might be the only thing that Rachaad White is good for. Yet he is a tailback catching passes. I'm going to stick to what I know is good, and I'm sticking with Philadelphia. That team is just too good.
So I really, really, really wanted to pick Tampa Bay in this game just because there's that little bit of riff between Jalen Hurts and his wide receivers right now. And Tampa Bay has kind of been doing okay. Mike Evans lit it up last week. And Baker Mayfield is a starting caliber quarterback right now. So,
gotcha.
But I'm still going to go Philly.
Yeah, last week, gotcha. And this past game that Tampa Bay played, who was that against?
Let's give it a look.
Yeah, because we can delve a little deeper into this.
Chicago.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that explains it. I gotcha. But yeah, we just had Philadelphia go up against Minnesota, and that would have been against Justin Jefferson. And I think Justin Jefferson did well, but he didn't really have a touchdown in that game. So I think you'll probably see a solid Mike Evans game. and it is kind of the Achilles heel of that Philadelphia offense is in the air. So I don't know. Like, it might not be as good of a game as last week, but it could be a game that's almost as good as how they played week 1 against Minnesota. I could see something like that going on.
I mean, if we're going the Minnesota route, Kirk Cousins threw for 364, 4 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson had 159. Jordan Addison had a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson had 2, and KJ Osborne had 1. So Philly can be caught in the air.
Absolutely. They can, but my concern with that is that I think Baker Mayfield is more of a shorter field guy. He's more of that intermediate field. He's not really a guy that really likes to take the top off an offense like Kirk Cousins has. Kirk Cousins has a way bigger arm than Baker Mayfield for sure. So because I feel that defense or that offense is going to be scaled back, I'd like to see kind of more about like the routes that Mike Evans ran and maybe more of his yards after catch to get a better understanding of how he did last week. So that's what I want to learn. That's what I want to know. I think I'm going to go back and actually watch that game and see what I can learn from it. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it is pretty interesting you bring that up. Yeah,
you know what?
I think too, this is a week they get Kenneth Gainwell back as well.
You know what? I'm picking Tampa Bay now. I'm switching my pick.
Let's do it. Here we go. I mean,
I've
my heart and soul is with Philadelphia. There you go. I love Philly. That's my defense for the last 2 fantasy seasons now, and I love it. I might have to get myself a Jalen Hurts, Kelly Green jersey one of these days. Those things look fresh, totally fresh. I kind of want to make a jersey collection for our wall once we get our studio built.
Nice. The last game to pick, the Rams at Cincinnati.
Rams at Cincinnati. Curious to see if we're going to differ on this. But with the things that we've seen going on with the Rams, they've played some really nice opponents to start the season. I think they get tested against another solid defense. And with kind of what's going on offense with Cincy, I'm taking the Rams. And shockingly, they're actually an underdog.
Yeah, they are an underdog, but I am picking the Rams as well. Cincinnati just does not, is still hurt. We all know that. Everybody in the world knows it. It's not a secret. He's not the same quarterback right now.
No, he's not. I think too that this might be more of like just a general popularity spread with what's going on in Vegas. So I think that people who are not as in tune with the NFL, they think, oh, Cincinnati, they're a powerhouse. They should absolutely take care of the Rams, who were one of the worst teams in the NFL last season. Well, right now that's not the case. The Rams could almost be a undefeated 2-0 football team after playing Seattle and San Francisco. That's incredibly impressive. So I really, really like what's going on with the Rams right now. And they're going to get rid of that negative Cam Akers energy. So they got things working out for them right now.
Well, hey, that's all of our picks. But
that's all the games.
What time it is, Mr. Metrics?
What time is it, Mr. DJ TRIGGS?
The greatest segment of all time.
Yes, it is. It is the greatest segment ever. Oh no. I feel like I froze. Oh, there we go. There we go.
No.
I got bigger. Yes, sir.
Boom. It is time for some 5 up for no debate with the Metrics man. Here we go.
Boom.
All right.
Here we go. Let's do this.
This is where I give Metrics 5 questions about fantasy that just completely blows his mind, and he's probably going to splatter all over the screen with knowledge and
Yes.
and Bono numbers and all types of craziness.
Exactly. Still got to update that one of these days, but we're getting into
Are
a
you
rhythm.
ready,
We'll figure it
sir?
out. Oh, yeah. Now I'm ready. I wasn't before, but now I am.
We are ready. Number one.
Let's do this.
This is a question. Who do you trust more this week? So we talked about our picks and everything of this of that nature. So
Yep.
in standard formats, these are the top 2 quarterbacks in fantasy. Number one is Kirk Cousins at 22.5 points a game. He's playing the Los Angeles Chargers at home, or at the Chargers. Sorry. And then the number 2 fantasy quarterback is Jordan Love at 21.7. He's home against New Orleans. Who do you trust more this week?
Oh, Kirk Cousins. Got to go with Kirk Cousins because I feel this Packer game is going to get weird. Jordan Love has had some questionable completion percentage recently, so I'm not totally liking that. Still, you're right. Not having Aaron Jones brings up some concerning points with that offense, so we'll see what happens there. I do think, though, they also get back Christian Watson, so that changes things. But we know how that defense works in Minnesota. So it's not the greatest defense out there, and they're going to be playing a high octane team this week in the Chargers. So the only way to keep up with that is just keep chucking that rock and keep scoring points. And so far, everyone's been scoring a lot of points against the Chargers. So regardless of the results of the game between LA and Minnesota, Kirk Cousins is going to sling it, and he's going to sling it again this week, especially when you got guys like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, and then you get close to the goal line. And right now, we just posted this in our Eagles-Vikings video. TJ Hawkinson accounts for half of the goal line receptions for the Minnesota Vikings. So you have 3 really scary offensive threats from that team. I just love that consistency. We talked about this before the season, especially if you're in a best ball league. Having Kirk Cousins as one of your best ball quarterbacks is essential this season.
Fantastic. Hey, the next player, he might be worthy of a video package. Get ready for this one. I said Boom.
Boom. There we go.
Boom.
Yes. Let's go.
Our Bono. I mean, he could be the next Bono player. Is that okay? Does that mean anything? I don't know. We'll throw that up there too.
It does.
So
absolutely.
This player is ranked 4th at his position. He's owned in 61% of leagues, and he's only started in 9% of the leagues. Last week, he threw for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. Should Russell Wilson be locked in as a starter?
And this week, my feisty Denver Broncos are playing against who?
Oh, let's give it a look. I can.
Oh, they're playing against Miami.
Swipe.
Ooh. Yeah, they're playing against Miami Dolphins. Yeah, no chance, man. Sorry. Like, this is going to be a devastating week for Russell Wilson. Yeah, absolutely. Avoid him at all costs. Yeah, I like Denver isn't like the LA Chargers who went into a slugfest with Miami, or even like New England, who has some good things going for them offensively. Denver, outside of Marvin Mims, that's it, man. Like it's that Jerry Jeudy's still got the hamstring issue. They couldn't do anything at tight end last week, and that's really like Russell Wilson's go-to. So yeah, I'd stick with Miami on this all the way. I'm actually shocked this game is as close as it is in terms of pick'em spread. But yeah, I would not have any confidence in Russell Wilson this week.
10-4. Moving on. All right, this one's fun. So
Yeah.
I started looking through the waiver wires of leagues. So question number 3. Both of these tight ends are owned under 50% in fantasy.
Yep.
The Detroit, they're playing against Atlanta. Last week he had 6 targets for 63 yards. And the number 6 tight end is Zach Ertz, who had 8 targets for 56 yards. Who do you pick this week?
All right. So we got Zach Ertz and the Arizona Cardinals against the Dallas Cowboys. And we know Juwan Johnson, mixing them up with your other favorite tight end. We know Tyler Conklin did squat against Dallas. And then we know week 1, Darren Waller did squat against Dallas as well. So based off that data, I would absolutely avoid Zach Ertz. So yeah, don't go Zach Ertz this week. They know how to play against the tight end position for sure. And then we had Luke Musgrave against New Orleans, right?
No, Sam Laporta against Atlanta.
Oh, Sam Laporta, my guy. I love me some Sam Laporta. And he's up there in targets. Like, I think Laporta has now had in 2 weeks, I want to say he's had either 12 or 13 targets. And at some point, he's going to hit pay dirt. So if, like what we were talking about earlier, like if that secondary of Atlanta is actually good, and we're not 100% sure on this, but there is opportunity in the middle of the field like Jaden Reed had last week against the Falcons. I think this is absolutely a big Sam Laporta day, and I think he finally hits pay dirt off of that big volume that he gets. So, yeah, totally go Sam Laporta this week.
$10-4. All right.
Yeah.
We'll fly through this one, I bet. All
hey,
right.
hey,
so
week, I ain't sorry about us going long.
We got the number 2 running back
point.
in fantasy.
No way. Hey, we got our 3 diehard viewers. We're giving you a 5 up for debate. We're giving you fantasy gold at this point. So ain't no apologies at this point. Nope.
All right.
What we got, Triggs?
So, boom, there we go. I went to go switch banners.
Okay.
And I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh man, you got stuck in the Matrix.
Running back question. So we got the number 2 running back in fantasy right now is Kieran Williams with the Rams. He's playing against Cincinnati.
Oh.
And number 3 is Brian Robinson Jr. playing against Buffalo. One's better at catching the ball than the other one. Who do you got?
Yeah, that hurt. That really hurt that you brought up a player that I once acquired in fantasy, even though I had no clue who that player really is. And now he's the second best player in all of the NFL for a running back. So yeah, that definitely hurts. Yeah, like I think it is. Oh, actually, okay. So I'm mixing up my AFC North teams here. So we know that Jaylen Warren just kind of ran fairly well against, I'm mixing them up. Okay, so Cincinnati just played against Baltimore. Both of Baltimore's running backs between Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, they combined for over 100 yards and a score. Because of that, I will take him. Like Buffalo's run defense could be good or it could not be good. We saw some somewhat exotic stuff out of the Jets week 1, and then just a total letdown in offense from the Raiders week 2 against Buffalo. So for those reasons, like, we don't know if, I mean, I don't think Brian Robinson's a bad play if you have to go with him. If you got to do it, go for it. But if you just have sheer availability of going anyone that you can, especially in the daily or a best ball thing, totally go with Kyron Williams, because you can definitely gut that Bengals defense. They're probably more solid in the secondary than they are up front. So teams are going to have more success running the ball, which is going to get Cincinnati into a lot of gritty games. And maybe if Joe Burrow gets right, that'll actually really benefit them in the future. Because if they get into a shootout, then they're going to win those games because their secondary can actually lock it down then. So, right now, totally Kyron Williams.
Nice. All right. Last but not least, we're going to wide receiver. Who do you got for the long haul? So one of these guys is owned and started in only 16% of leagues last week. That's Nico Collins, who had 9 targets for 146 yards and a touchdown. He plays Jacksonville's. And then owned in only 5% of the leagues, Rashid Shaheed, who had 63 yards last week, and he's playing against Green Bay.
So just going the long haul. Again, like, that offensive line in Houston's rough. So we hope it doesn't happen, but if you keep having a bad offensive line and your quarterback keeps getting in trouble, at some point they get hurt. So I don't like that availability going on there. New Orleans has a good offensive line, both for run blocking and pass protection. And they're at least a triple threat with the receiving core they have in New Orleans. I just love the future of Shaheed. And I don't know about Nico Collins and the special teams because we know Tank Dell's part of it. But Shaheed returns kicks and punts. So that's another added dimension. And he's come close to taking the top off that kicking unit twice, I want to say. There's just multiple ways to score with Shaheed. And even getting to the goal line, he can actually run some really beautiful routes crossing that goal line. So I like Shaheed. I think Shaheed, and should anything happen to Olave, like, he might even push Olave for the number 1 job. He played well last season as well, too. So there's just so much upside out of Shaheed. I am a Shaheed owner. I'm totally sticking with him. I'll take Shaheed. I think Nico Collins is your guy.
He is my guy.
I gotcha.
That's why I threw them both.
There you go.
There. Nico Collins is actually the 6th best wide receiver in fantasy right now.
Wow. That's impressive. That is really impressive. And that speaks volumes about CJ Stroud. And he's a great guy I got. And if we want to go into my waiver pickups now, I mean, it is the metrics minute. I say we start talking about these guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Totally. So, with that, I am going to lead off with my number 5 waiver wire pickup that you can get out there in probably every league, and that is CJ Stroud. He is a guy that has that ability to make plays with his legs, especially with having a rough offensive line. But now you can say in the first 2 weeks of the season, the guy's basically thrown for about 300 yards each in 2 games. I really like that. I'm incredibly impressed with that. I love what Triggs threw out about Nico Collins. He really shouldn't be out there being available, but he is. So I think he's one of the better quarterbacks that you can get right now. Get CJ Stroud. He's my number 5 guy. Number 4 is that handcuff, like we talked about earlier about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Get Josh Reynolds. So it's still going to be another 3 weeks before Jameson Williams comes off a suspension. And who knows what happens at that point in time. So for those reasons, get Josh Reynolds. If you like Khalif Raymond and you know something more about him than I do, so be it. But either of those guys, get Reynolds, maybe Khalif Raymond as well. At number 3, guy had zilch, no production whatsoever, but has opportunity. And now he has more opportunity going forward. He's going to have this opportunity this week and at least the next 2 weeks going forward. And that is with my feisty Denver Broncos, Adam Troutman. He is a tight end. It's slim pickings out there, guys. Like, tight ends this year are really starting to fall flat outside of like Sam Laporta, who we're pointing out. But even that's rough. It is a rough tight end market for a season we thought would be better. If you got to get a guy, Adam Troutman's out there. So I like it. I think it's a different game plan this week. Why not attack him with a tight end? So get Troutman. At number 2, this is a group community gathering. Every single major handcuff out there needs to be owned. If they are not your handcuff, then go out there and grab them from someone else and force their hand. Take that player, create a bundle package so you can trade to whatever you need from that opposing team to actually offer that team their handcuff. So if it's a Josh Jacobs owner, go get Zamir White and then try to like pull the tier strings of that Jacobs owner, and you have Zamir White. Now you actually have trade bait. If he loses Josh Jacobs, he's done. His number 1 running back, as bad as Jacobs played last week, can hurt him. Same thing with the Christian McCaffrey owners. If they lose McCaffrey, it's Elijah Mitchell. A Mitchell needs to be owned in every league. We just saw Nick Chubb go down, so now it's Jerome Ford. So you got those guys. Austin Eckler's been banged up, so you got to have Josh Kelly. We've even seen in our league with me and Triggs, we even saw Elijah Dotson, a really good preseason player, get picked up. So, people are thinking about it like these guys can go down at any given moment. There are no guarantees in the NFL. So have those guys be ready. A little bit different with some of those shifty players in the backfield, like a Jahmyr Gibbs. They're a little different. They're not necessarily a player that you can really handcuff because they are so unique at their position. But the guys who are more like bell cow backs get their handcuffs. So either get it for your team or get it to pull at the tier strings of another team and hopefully enact a trade. So all major handcuffs, own those guys. Finally, at number 1, speaking of Jerome Ford and losing Nick Chubb, and I know there's some Pierre Strong talk. Today is Tuesday. We know that today Kareem Hunt went back to the Cleveland Browns and actually revisited that team. He had 4 offers on the table to start the season, and we don't know what those teams are, in all honesty. We don't know who those offers are coming from. But I would guarantee at this point, Cleveland has extreme interest in him. And then my concern, too, is being an Elijah Moore owner. This could actually take away even more from Elijah Moore, and especially in a game where I thought he would have more production. This might be more of that Elijah Moore kind of style going on. So you'll have Jerome Ford as that hard-hitting, heavy back, and then you'd have Kareem Hunt or Elijah Moore as more of that shifty tailback kind of thing. So that's where it gets a little weird. So it is what it is. But I would think actually number 1, Kareem Hunt. He might challenge Jerome Ford for the number 1 job. We'll see. But again, I think of them as 2 completely different prototype of players. But we haven't really seen that pass-catching back style out of Cleveland. They love a lot of 12 personnel. They've really been force-feeding Amari Cooper. But I feel like there are elements that this offense can evolve. And unfortunately, Stefanski has not taken that step yet. So I think there's more evolutions to come out of Cleveland. But if we don't see it and they fail, it could really backfire on this team. But I would say if you really need a running back and you're thinking beyond those handcuffs, I think Kareem Hunt is your number 1 guy. And that's it. That's all the guys, your 5 waiver pickups for the Metrics Minute. Boom. That's no debate. Yes, sir. Yep. So there we go. The belt. So we got a blue scheme going on. We got some Milwaukee Brewer action, trying to give some good vibes to that team. I know they just lost a shutout the other day, and Wainwright got his 200th win. So it is what it is. But yeah, we're going with the blue color scheme today. So here you go, guys. We got some Scooby-Doo action, bringing them back the blue with Scooby-Doo. So what's that video game of the day, Triggs? Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Pitfall. Interesting. I have no idea what is that game about. That looks like a very interesting game, almost like a I don't know, almost like a Indiana Jones kind of style thing. There's something going on there. Gotcha. Okay.
Did you hear all of that? Because I might have just
There we
muted
go.
my microphone.
Yeah. I think we were kind of going off the cuff, just kind of going off script with kind of what we saw the visuals were. So yeah, I ride with it, man. I go with the flow here. That's why I'm wearing blue today. We gotta go with the good waves, that good energy.
So
Yeah.
basically, what I was saying is Pitfall was like created back in like the Atari days.
Yep.
I actually have the Atari game too. And
Nice.
then they kind of made it into a 3D kind of cool Leo type thing for Super Nintendo, and boom,
Nice.
Pitfall came out looking like Mario.
Beautiful. Okay. Wow. That's cool. Speaking of which, if you guys haven't caught it, check us out on our YouTube channel. You'll see DJ TRIGGS drop some really cool US FIBA action about what our men's basketball team should be. And it has Super Mario Brothers font. Absolutely love it.
That's true.
Absolutely.
I didn't know you would catch that. That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, that font is dope. There are certain fonts out there that, man, they just scream popularity and just beautifulness, and that font is on fire right now. Even though the movie came out like months ago, it's still like this awesome, cool looking font.
Yeah, that's true. I was not a fan of the movie, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think you got some voice actors doing some different voices that we won't really associate with those characters. So it is a little different from the ones we grew up with, but so be it. There you go.
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That is the way the cookie crumbles, but not a single one of us crumbled today. Even no sound, no mute, no nothing. We're here. We made it work. We get through. We keep moving. So we got that. Yeah, buddy. So that's both of us. And yeah, again, we got more YouTube action. We got more videos dropping this week. We're doing reviews for every single NFL game. Whatever you can take away for fantasy, whatever you can take away for just general NFL knowledge, we will be dropping those every single day this week. So we're going to have 5 dropping tomorrow throughout the day. We got 5 more dropping Thursday. We got some other stuff. Oh, we got a few late second pickups here. So besides the top tight ends, let's drop this. Who would be a solid sleeper pickup? It's tough this week, Lars. I mean, I went through the guys I talked about. It's really slim pickings now. I mean, I think probably your only best options are maybe a few certain receivers, like maybe a Josh Reynolds. I would think Khalif Raymond plays outside as well, so maybe one of those 2 guys. You got Allen Robinson playing in the slot. We really had no slot action against the Raiders last week, so I'm not too sure how much goes on there. But it's slim pickings this week, man. I think now we're starting to get into the time where you probably got to look at your team and possibly enact trades, depending how big your league is. The league Triggs and I are in is massive. So I actually have a trade that I do want to bring up real quick, Triggs. And this is where I'm – yes. What was there?
For tight ends. So I was just looking at tight ends and their owning how much they're rostered. So if you're looking for a really, really deep guy, that would go for Kylan Granson for the Indianapolis Colts. He ranks number 7 in tight ends. He is literally rostered in 0.2% leagues on ESPN where we play. So literally nobody has this guy. He's ranked number 7, like I said. And then Hunter Henry is only rostered in 35% of the leagues. And believe it or not, he's the number 2 tight end in the league.
Gotcha. Huh.
So Hunter Henry, go grab him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter Henry definitely makes sense. And again, too, a guy I like, Adam Troutman. There's no Greg Dulcich. I just don't think that stays the way it is. I think if you're going to get to Miami at some point, it's going to be via the tight ends. Just like it is the tight ends. And you just brought this up, right? So Hunter Henry had success against Miami last week. The week before, they were in a shootout with the Chargers. Guaranteed Gerald Everett had something to do with that. So this week, who does Miami play? They play Denver. Adam Troutman's going to do something in that game. If those last 2 tight ends did something, we know Russell Wilson loves the tight end. Adam Troutman, man, go get that guy. That is a total dynamite pickup now that Triggs and I bring it up. So there you go, Lars. You need a tight end. Hunter Henry and Adam Troutman. Those are the guys you get.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So
what's your trade?
My trade. So I am a team that is built heavily with wide receivers. That is where I put my planted my flag, drew my line in the sand, and I realized things for me weren't really working out with the running back position. I wasn't as deep as I'd like to be at tight end, so I think I'm going to go out and probably take my own advice and maybe take some Adam Troutman action, see where that goes. But my trade is my top 2 receivers now are officially George Pickens and Zay Flowers. What I'm looking at is a certain team that has a little bit of flexibility at the running back position and who's the guy I can grab. And we've talked about this team having a good offensive line. I'm looking at a team that has that. I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm looking at James Conner. I like the run blocking they have going on there with Arizona. Somehow they're making it work, and I like it. I like the fact that this guy just plays angry every game, sticking it to Pittsburgh for letting him go. I like the production he's gotten, and I like the fact, too, that I can probably get his backup off of waivers or let him sit, but I want that handcuff. I want that action. So I am proposing Zay Flowers for James Conner. That is my trade. And I am deep at wide receiver. I am not concerned about this. Because when you got guys like George Pickens, DJ Moore.
Zay Flowers is solid.
Exactly. So straight up 1-for-1. Give him some more strength at wideout. Give me strength at running back. So I get that. I have every running back for the Dallas Cowboys. And I need something to pair that because at some point I'm not going to be able to go with that as much as I'd like. So now I would have essentially George Pickens, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Rashid Shaheed, and the spicy guy that I haven't really unveiled yet, but is starting to show his worth and I think is as good of a player as George Pickens, Jalen Hyatt. That is another receiver that is coming up through the ranks that is going to make bigger plays. He's going to overtake every receiver on that team outside of Hodgins. And Hodgins is going to be different. He's more of that tight endish kind of receiver. I love what's happening with Jalen Hyatt. So I have guys. I'm ready to go out and get more guys if I have to. I feel there's depth at wide receiver in the NFL right now, but I got guys. So I'm sticking with my guys and starting to fortify at the running back position. But I know it's going to cost me. I can't just do it for pennies on the dollar. I got to do it for like straight up like dimes to nickels kind of thing, or flat out dimes to dimes. So if I'm not letting go of Pickens, I got to let go of my next best guy, and that's Zay Flowers. So how about that?
So what you're saying is I should go find the person you're trying to trade with and throw them a better receiver just so you can't have James Conner.
You could do that. You could absolutely do that. And we'll see what happens to me if I go out and try to acquire someone else or something. But we'll see. It's a weird waiver week. This is a waiver week where I feel that already in week 3 it is dry as dust. It is so weird. It is so bizarre. Yeah, if you're in one of these deeper leagues, it's tough, man. It is really tough. So I think your best options are to get players that you can enact into trades. You need to force the hands of other fantasy owners, and at some point it happens. I think this is that week. So if there aren't good players out there, then figure out what your team is weak at and fortify that. So make those trades, make them happen, and get those guys. So that's what I have to do at this point. I have to know I'm good at wideout, but I'm not good at running back. So let's get some. Let's figure out a trade.
Yeah, I just wish more people would trade in fantasy. I love trades. Trades are amazing.
They are. And shout out to people that use ESPN. ESPN is actually using IBM Watson X as part of their AI for basically all player analytics. And one of the great things that they look at is how a player benefits your roster. Do they benefit it in a positive way or a negative way? And what they do is they come up with an AI rating, just like a Madden rating. And that rating is impactful to how they're going to interact with your roster. So I really love this feature. I love what they got going on there. And I know a player like James Conner greatly benefits my roster, which is lacking at the running back position. So I looked at it. I saw what it is. I see Zay Flowers is not truly as rated as well as a James Conner, but it's not as far off as I would think. James Conner is in like the low 80s, and Zay Flowers is in the high 70s. And we know as that season progresses, Odell Beckham's not really going to be out there for as long as he used to be. So Zay Flowers is getting more volume. So I don't think this is a bad trade. I think straight up 1-for-1, this is legit.
Solid.
Boom.
We're in the same league, so
There
I can't give you too much there.
I know. Exactly. So we'll face off one of these days, and we'll see how my shenanigans come out to play. But there we go. So I think that's everything we got for today. Anything else you're throwing out there, Triggs?
No, that's it. That's the fun.
Good stuff, man. Hey, same stuff, guys. You'll see us here next week, same time, same place, 7 o'clock Central, Mondays, Tuesdays. We're here. We're everywhere. You'll find us TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, X, YouTube, Instagram, whatever they're called these days. We got everything. We have content dropping all throughout the rest of this week. You're going to see it. You're going to love it. Good stuff. So with that, I'm Steve M3TR1CS. That's your boy. And boom,
DJ TRIGGS.
There you go, man. Hey,
Other way.
Together we're No Debate Sports, and thanks again for watching, guys.